Hello everybody, this is MK and I'm back, but this time we are doing geography. And our topic is resource use and sustainability, and this is Unit 1. This is a very important topic because the future of our planet is involved. With the population of the world at 7 billion, more and more resources are needed to sustain humankind. We cannot carry on living as we have been, using up scarce, non-renewable resources and polluting the world with our waste products. We all have to be more aware of what we are doing. Uses of natural resources, renewable and non-renewable resources. A resource is something of value that needs to be consumed to obtain a benefit from it. We obtain resources from the environment to meet our needs and wants. Needs are essential to our survival, such as food, water, and shelter. Wants are desirable, but not necessary for us to live. Cell phones, jewelry and designer clothes are examples of wants. Our resources need to be conserved and not wasted. Conservation is essential. The pool from which we source the things we need to make a living can be divided into those provided by nature, called natural resources, and those provided by humans, called human resources. Let's look at the classification of resources. Starting at the top there, let's go to the right first. There it says human and economic resources. Now, examples of those are people, skills, machinery, and capital. Okay, so let's take a machine for instance. If you hire a machine, you can use it and you can use it again. Okay, but if we go to the left, let's look at natural resources. For example, minerals, soils, and vegetation. There's two sides to this, non-renewable and renewable. So let's look at the non-renewable. Examples of those are fossil fuels, for example, oil, and minerals, for example, iron ore. Okay, non-renewable meaning that if you use it, it is used up. You can't use it again. But renewable is something continuous, for example, wind or water. Sustainable, for example, forests, water, ecosystems, and landscapes. So in this diagram, what it shows basically is how human and natural resources differ, and the difference between non-renewable and renewable. Non-renewable resources. A non-renewable resource is a natural resource that cannot be produced, grown, or generated. Once it is used up, there is no more left. These resources exist in a fixed amount and are used much faster than nature can create them. Examples of non-renewable resources are fossil fuels such as coal, petroleum, and natural gas, nuclear power, uranium, and minerals such as iron, gold, and platinum. Non-renewable resources can be used to the point where it costs too much to obtain what is left. In South Africa, almost all electricity comes from coal, with small amounts coming from nuclear power and hydroelectric power. While South Africa has enough coal reserves to last for many years, coal-burning power stations produce large volumes of greenhouse gases that contribute to global warming. Burning coal to produce electricity also causes acid rain. Renewable resources can either be continuous or sustained. Continuous, it is a flow of nature, so they can be used again and again. For example, water power and solar and tidal energy. Sustained is self-perpetuating if left to nature. A natural resource is a renewable resource if it is replaced by natural processes and replenished over time. Renewable resources are part of our natural environment. These resources are threatened by industrial growth, which means they must be carefully managed and conserved to avoid exceeding the world's capacity to renew them. Animals used for food, trees, water, and soil are examples of renewable resources. Very little electricity is produced in South Africa from renewable energy. With our abundance of sunshine, there is a lot of potential for solar power, especially in the more remote rural areas far from Eskom's power lines. There is very little scope for hydroelectric power as we have such small rivers. Wind power is increasing, but it is expensive to build turbines. The effects of unwise use of resources. The tragedy of the commons. This is a problem arising from the situation in which many individuals, acting in their own self-interest, will ultimately deplete a shared limited resource, even when it is clear that it is not in anyone's long-term interest for this to happen. Where grazing land is communally owned, cattle owners will graze as many cattle as they can. If that farmer's cattle do not graze the grass, then somebody else's will. This leads to overgrazing. The farmer gets the benefit from the extra cow, but the damage is shared by the whole community. The same happens in the sea with overfishing. Overfishing the oceans. The unsustainable harvest of the world's oceans has led to the depletion and, in some cases, the collapse of many of the world's major fish stocks. Overfishing is catching too many fish for the system to support and is an example of non-sustainable use of the oceans. The practice of commercial and non-commercial fishing depletes the fish population by catching so many adult fish that not enough remain to breed and replenish stocks. The fish get fewer and fewer, until finally there are none to catch. This can occur in any body of water, from a pond to the ocean. Let's look at the vicious cycle of overfishing. If we start at the top left-hand corner, advances in fishing technology, high energy fishing practices, higher catches, meaning more fish, smaller fish populations because of all the catching, more food available. Yes, you catch more fish, there's more food, lower market price, it's not that expensive, and then they do get lower profits. But in the other hand, need for greater efficiency. So it's a vicious cycle. The vicious cycle of overfishing shows how the need to catch more and more fish leads to a smaller fish population. Commercial fishing methods have become very efficient, using large nets and seagoing processing factories. Individual fishing quotas and international treaties seek to control the species and quantities caught. What causes overfishing? Worldwide, fishing fleets are 2 to 3 times larger than needed to take present-day catches of fish and other marine species. On a global scale, we have enough fishing capacity to cover at least 4 Earth-like planets. Why is overfishing a problem? Well, almost 80% of the world's fisheries are depleted or in a state of collapse. We are losing species as well as entire ecosystems. As a result, the health of our oceans is under stress, and we are at risk of losing a valuable food source that many depend on for social, economic, or dietary reasons. A good example of the ecological and economical dangers of overfishing is found in Newfoundland, Canada. In the 1980s, the thriving cod fishing industry came to a stop when, at the start of the fishing season, no cod appeared. Overfishing, allowed by years of mismanagement, was the main cause of this disaster, which resulted in 40,000 people losing their jobs and a collapsed ecosystem. Many fishermen are still waiting for the cod to return, and communities still haven't recovered. Here are some of the fishing techniques that have caused overfishing. Overgrazing. Overgrazing occurs when plants are exposed to grazing without time for recovery. It can be caused by livestock in poorly managed agricultural areas or by overpopulation of wild animals. Overgrazing reduces the usefulness, productivity, and biodiversity of land and can cause desertification and erosion. Overgrazing also causes the spread of invasive species of alien plants and weeds. Once overgrazing starts, it is difficult to stop. To increase yields, farmers must increase their livestock numbers, which causes even more overgrazing, more soil erosion, and lower productivity. Let's look at the previous words and their meanings. Biodiversity is the number and type of different species. Desertification, a process in which land becomes increasingly dry until little vegetation grows, making the land like a desert. Invasive species, plants that adversely affect the regions they invade. Productivity, the ability to make or produce things. The vicious cycle of overgrazing. Overgrazing starts and then there's less grass. Less grass means there's soil erosion because there's no grass to hold the soil together. Then there's lower productivity, which means more livestock needed. Causes of overgrazing. Very often the cause of overgrazing is the tragedy of the commons. Most of Africa's cattle are grazed on communal lands, and for many people, they are an indication of wealth. This is particularly noticeable in KwaZulu-Natal, where 2 out of every 3 Zulu-owned cattle die of natural causes rather than being killed for their meat. Another cause for overgrazing is greed on commercial farms. Farmers graze as many sheep and cattle as they can to ensure good profits, not worrying about the damage they are doing to the land. Effects of overgrazing. Grass is depleted, causing soil erosion. The soil becomes less fertile as it receives little organic matter. Nutritious plants are replaced by less favorable plants. The ecology in the area is disrupted. The lack of grass cover leads to less infiltration and more runoff, causing soil erosion. Dust storms occur. Animals starve and die. The land may be permanently changed and may experience desertification. And that is it for today's lesson. Thank you for watching and most importantly learning. This is MK's class signing out.